A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, Debbie Paldano. Now, before we head into your stories in more detail, let's first take a look at your headlines this evening.
Complete report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks directed to the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka.
බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ඒ බෙලුම් වල අන්තර්ගත සියල්ල ඒ ආකාරයෙන්ම ඒ CD තැටිවල අඩංගු වෙයි කියලා.
What happened to the files given separately to ex-President Gotabaya by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry? Questions former head of state Sirisena.
අන්න ඒව දෙන්නකො එළියට. එතකොට අපිටත් බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් මොනවද මේවා තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
Hartal sweeps across the north and east against the proposed anti-terrorism bill. Who solicited a bribe from the Express Pearl claim? Justice Minister reveals names to Parliament. University teachers to begin A-level paper marking after talks with the President. Bima reveals of an international plan to destabilize the government.
The outpatient department building of the Sri Lankan National Hospital, the largest ever China aid project in Sri Lanka, was handed over to the Health Ministry today.
I'm here at the new outpatient clinic building of the Colombo National Hospital. This was a massive donation by the Chinese government to Sri Lanka. And this project was handed over to the Sri Lankan government today. Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Sri Lanka, Kee Zeng-hong, and Minister of Health, Keheliya Rambukwella, were among those present at the handing over ceremony. The outpatient department building of the Sri Lankan National Hospital, with 8 stories, has a 50,000 square meter area and a daily access of 6,000 patients.
It was 5th Executive Committee, Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa, who made a request to the government of China, requesting a gift to the health sector. And as a result of that, they decided to give the biggest ever donation as a grant with no return to Sri Lanka. And also I must say that this happens to be the largest ever, single ever grant that's given by the government of China. And it happens to be to the health sector. As the minister right now standing before you, I take pride in receiving it and getting it to an operational level.
Minister Keheliya Rambukwella said the OPD clinic will be operational within 1 month, adding, however, it will take around 1 year to be fully functional. Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Sri Lanka, Kee Zeng-hong, also spoke at the event.
I sincerely hope that the strong commitment by the Chinese government can play a constructive role in helping our frontline health care workers as well as the patients in need. To date, the Chinese side has already fulfilled the responsibilities on this grand project according to the agreement signed by the two governments. This beautiful 8-story OPD building here will allow access of 6,000 patients to health service daily. Honorable Minister, I'm confident that under your leadership and the capable management of the hospital, the OPD building will soon be fully functioning and bring substantial benefits to our Sri Lanka brothers and sisters in no time.
Ambassador Kee Zeng-hong said the OPD building is a landmark that represents the long-standing relationship between China and Sri Lanka.
This is the biggest donation project from the Chinese government and the Chinese people. I think this is also the landmark of the Sri Lanka that represents our two countries' long-standing traditional friendship. The China government and China people will continue to provide assistance and the best capacity of our capacity.
U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chang, visited several sacred religious sites in Anuradhapura on Tuesday. The U.S. ambassador paid her respects to the sacred Jayashree Mahabodhi and also paid homage to the Ruanveli Mahasaya.
The US has supported our apparel sector and hundreds of thousands of Sri Lankan youth depend on that. A 16% tax is imposed while India is tax-free. If you can support to lift this tax for a small period, it would be supportive to alleviate from this economic crisis.
This very sacred place in Anuradhapura, so important to Buddhism around the world. So thank you for the warm welcome, for me to pay respects to you and this beautiful temple compound and the tree.
The complete report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks was directed to the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka by Public Security Minister Tiran Alas today. Reverend Father Jude Krishantha, the media director of the Archdiocese of Colombo, said the report was handed over in the form of CDs. Public Security Minister Tiran Alas said today that the complete report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks was handed over to the chairman of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka, the Most Reverend Dr. Harold Anthony Pereira. The minister said that the complete report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks was handed over to the chairman of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka with approval from the President. When I spoke to the chairman of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka, the Most Reverend Dr. Harold Anthony Pereira, he informed me that the remaining volumes of the report were handed over in 6 CDs. There are 15 bishops representing the 12 archdioceses that belong to the Catholic Bishops' Conference. They will analyze, study and thereafter issue a statement on their findings. We expect that the contents of all those volumes will be in those CDs. Former President Maithripala Sirisena was questioned about this today.
දැන් මේ වෙනේ දැන් මම පත් කරපු පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය සම්බන්ධයෙන් කොමිසම සභාවේ වාර්තාව බාර දෙන
I appointed the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks. When they handed over their report, a separate file was given to the former president for his eyes only. Those must be made public as well. Then we can understand what lies in these reports. The other matter is that none of the recommendations have been probed. The Cardinal wants to see me sent to the gallows. He's trying to commit that sin even before the investigations are over. Leading international intelligence agencies visited the country. But what happened to those reports? Those are also necessary. Who allowed for the telephone details and data belonging to Saharan to be taken overseas? Those information might contain some details. This is a web. Before handing the report to the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka, table it in Parliament and then give it to the Catholic Bishops' Conference.
එකක් මේක. කතෝලික සභාවට දෙන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට දෙන්න. දෙවෙනි සැරේ දෙන්න මේ කතෝලික සභාවට.
ඔබතුමාලා කියන්නේ එක පාර්ශ්වයකට පමණක් ඇඟිලි දික් කරන්න එපා කියලා.
ඔව් ඉතින් මාව විතරනේ මරාගෙන කන්න හදන්නේ මේ මගේ මස් මාළු ඇට මේ ඇට මිදුළු ටික විතරයි කන්න හදන්නේ. මේ බෝම්බ.
Yes, they are just trying to eat me alive. While the people who bombed and their henchmen are set aside, they are trying to pin the blame on me. I arrested 170 suspects involved with the April 21st attacks. President Gotabaya released 2 of these suspects. Then they even released the wife of Saharan. I destroyed their whole terrorist organization in 3 weeks. After doing all this, now this is coming behind me. Charge the ones who really carried out the attack. Protest against them. While those terrorists who carried out the attack are enjoying their time in prison, they are burdening us for no reason. There's something else at play.
මේ අපිට තමයි මේක දෙන්න හදන්නේ වැඩේ මේක මේ වෙන ලයින් එකක් මේක.
Reverend Father Jude Krishantha responded to the claims made by the former president.
The Catholic Church has no intention of harassing former President Maithripala Sirisena. We have no personal issue with him. However, the Catholic Church repeatedly stressed that he held a major responsibility when it comes to this particular matter. He was the former president and the former defense minister. We want justice from him.
තුමාගෙන් අපි මේ පිළිබඳව සාධාරණත්වයේ ඉල්ලන්නේ නැතුව වෙන කාගෙන්ද සාධාරණත්වයේ ඉල්ලන්නේ?
News First journalist Zulfiq Farazan was summoned to the Terrorist Investigation Division today morning to record a statement regarding the interview with former Attorney General, President's Counsel Dapula Dilivera over the 2019 Easter Sunday terror attacks. The interview was done days ahead of the former Attorney General's retirement. In an interview in May of 2021, former Attorney General Dappula Dilivera said that a grand conspiracy was behind the 2019 April attacks. The former Attorney General was summoned to the Terrorist Investigation Division on 3 separate occasions to record a statement over the comments. And yesterday, the Court of Appeal issued an interim order on the Terrorist Investigations Division preventing the arrest or recording a statement from the former Attorney General Dappula Dilivera. The interim order was made after considering a writ application filed by the former Attorney General. In his petition, Dappula Dilivera said that the statement he made to the media was made in his capacity as the Attorney General in the public interest. However, in order to record a statement over the interview with the former Attorney General, President's Counsel Dappula Dilivera, News First journalist Zulfiq Farzan was informed to appear at the Terrorist Investigation Division today at 10 a.m. A statement was recorded from the journalist for about 5 hours by the Terrorist Investigation Division. The leader of the National Freedom Front, parliamentarian Vimal Weerawansa, revealed of an ongoing international propaganda to destabilize the Sri Lankan government.
Before Gotabaya Rajapaksa resigned from his position as the executive president of this country, India and USA asked former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to sack then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe before his resignation. Gamini Senarath then drafted both letters and sent it for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's signature, but he only signed his resignation letter. Setting ablaze to the house of Ranil Wickremesinghe must also have been a part of this plan to remove him from the premiership. They must have thought that this will weaken Ranil Wickremesinghe psychologically, and eventually he will announce his resignation as well. In the meantime, the US ambassador to Sri Lanka visited the Speaker's house. Speaker might reject this story tomorrow, but this story was told to a close colleague of the Speaker by the Speaker himself. During this meeting with the US ambassador and the Speaker, the US ambassador has asked the Speaker to take over the presidency with the resignation of President Gotabaya. The Speaker has rejected this offer, citing that it is constitutionally wrong for him to accept the post of acting president when there is a sitting Prime Minister in the country. But still, they have urged the Speaker to accept this position without considering the constitution. Still, they weren't good enough to change the Speaker's mind. Even in Ukraine, when the regime was changed, the Ukraine Speaker was appointed as the acting president of the interim government that took over the power. Even in Libya, when Gaddafi was overthrown, an interim government led by the Speaker was formed. Here in Sri Lanka also, their plan was to appoint an interim government led by the Speaker. People like Sarath Fonseca and Chief of Defence Staff Shavendra Silva might have played some important roles in this interim government. Few days before the 9th of May, Shavendra Silva got an invitation from India to visit India. During all this chaos on the 9th of May, Shavendra Silva was in India. Even Gotabaya Rajapaksa was manipulated by Julie Chang. Gotabaya planned to spend his retirement in the US. Because of this, he had no option but to listen and work to the tunes of her. While they manipulated President Gotabaya, they even controlled Aragalaya. One of the colleagues of Ranil Wickremesinghe was the first one to set a tent in Gotagogama. That colleague is none other than Ashumara Singha. During an interview with the BBC, soon after he was appointed as the Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe invited all foreigners to come and join the Gotagogama. He even told that he will support the Gotagogama. When he was appointed as the Prime Minister, one of his friends warned Ranil Wickremesinghe that these protesters will next come in search of you. Gammampila was there during this conversation. In reply, Ranil Wickremesinghe has told his friend that he needs to be number one before that happens. He eventually became the number one. Plan A was never implemented because Ranil Wickremesinghe didn't give up on the premiership. He then became the president. But they won't allow him to be stable for too long. They are now trying to get the work done according to Plan A through destabilizing his government.
Vimal Weerawansa revealed this during an event held in Colombo to launch his new book, Navaye Sangavunu Kathawa. The first book was presented to the son of late parliamentarian Amarakirti Attukorala, who was murdered on the 9th of May last year.
A Hartal campaign was launched in the north and eastern provinces against the proposed anti-terrorism bill, with shops closed, buses not operating and a low attendance of students in schools.
A Hartal campaign was launched in the north and eastern provinces by political parties and civil groups in the north and east, including the Tamil National Alliance. On Tuesday morning, shops in Thennamarachi, Chavakacheri and Kodikamam in the Jaffna district were closed. According to News First correspondents, students did not attend schools. This was the situation in Vaunia. News First correspondent said Sri Lanka Transport Board buses operated as usual. All shops were closed in Mannar in support of the Hartal campaign. News First correspondent said a low attendance of students was reported in schools. The Hartal campaign was carried out in Selvapuram, Mullaitivu. News First correspondent said SLTB buses operated as usual in this area. In the meantime, a bus travelling from Mullaitivu to Jaffna was pelted with stones in Selvapuram. Police spokesperson SSP Nihal Thalduwa said investigations are underway to determine the reason for the attack. The Hartal campaign was also carried out in Trincomalee. News First correspondent said some shops were open in the area. Meanwhile, shops were closed in several areas, including Chenkaladi, Vakare and Aryampathy in Batticaloa. This was the situation in Kathankudi. News First correspondent said low attendance was observed in schools in the area. Schools were also closed in Tirukkovil, Karethivu, Kalmune, Pandiripu and Nilavane in the Ampara district.
Today is a Hartal. It's an action not of non-cooperation with the government. But we will be forced to defy the law as a civil protest. Declare and defy the law and court arrests and fill your prisons by thousands of people. We will not resort to violence. I'll assure you that. But by non-violent means, we will resist. You don't ever think that we are a people who can be pushed over, who can be trampled upon. We will not stand that.
If I think then you will have to bring a substantial motion and then discuss this, because it's no point when the minister concerned is not here leveling this. And I totally agree. If you have a grievance, you have all the right to express it.
Yeah.
But in a manner in which it must be addressed, you are better known. I think you should know it better being a lawyer.
Honorable Sumandiran, please wind up with your final comments.
See, I am thankful to the two ministers for the intervention and for expressing their concern as well, and that we must discuss it. All that I am saying is we have raised this number of times in this house with the minister. The minister leads this, and today it has come to the entire two provinces shutting down. And I am telling you with all responsibility, we will defy the law. Next, before it is too late, I am asking the two responsible ministers present here today to take this up at the cabinet, to change your direction. Don't continue in this racist direction that this government is travelling at the moment.
The Sri Lankan Parliament flared up on Tuesday following a comment made by MP Shanakyan Rasamanikam.
Honourable Minister of Transport, there are two areas in Batticaloa named Paduvankare and Eluvankare. As of now, there are only 2 or 3 bridges at most to connect these areas. Since there are no other bridges, ferries are being operated by the Road Development Authority. This service used to be provided free of charge, but you have built the most unnecessary bridges in the south. A lot of time has passed now. Honourable MP, please be quiet now. Let me explain something to you. It is not possible to answer everything in this manner. There is no process that is followed. I am not afraid of you just because you raise your voice. There is no space to ask whatever you want to. Please take today's proceedings forward in the manner of a parliament. How can you talk like a madman? You can't talk like that. This is parliament. Be civil and don't talk like a madman.
ඔන්න කොටිය එළියට බැන්න. ඕක තමයි හැටි. අපි කවුරුවත් එහෙම විශේෂ කරලා දෙමළද මුස්ලිම්ද කියලා බලන්නේ නෑ. දැන් කියන්නේ නැගෙනහිර ගැන කතා කරපු නිසා. ඔන්න මේක තමයි දේශපාලනයට පාවිච්චි කරන හැටි. This government's racist face is just being shown by when a district question is being asked, immediately shout kotiya. Right? That you just jump from this side to that side. You don't know how many times you have crossed the floor. And you have the goal to Sir, this is a very serious issue. This is a very serious issue. I am raising this issue. He is the leader of the house. Are you permitting this? Are you permitting this? Are you permitting a minister to say kotiya to somebody in this house?
එවැනි වචනයක් සඳහන් වුණා නම් ඒක සෙන්සර්ඩ් එකෙන් ඉවත් කරන්න.
Various
රාසමානික මන්ත්‍රීතුමා
raised various issues in this parliament.
රාසමානික මන්ත්‍රීතුමා
Mr. Sabri, you can point your hand towards me and say whatever you want. But in this chamber, since 10 a.m., various members of this house were allowed to raise their issues and concerns when names weren't even on the question. As soon as I was on my feet to ask a question, the deputy speaker told me that that's an insensitive issue. For him, it may not be a sensitive issue because it's from the Batiklo district. Now, as soon as I got up on my feet to say that, the deputy speaker cuts the mic off. I am told to sit down because that's not a sensitive issue. Maybe for him. My biggest concern is a cabinet minister, one of your colleagues, called me a terrorist. He called me a kotia. Then he said he called me a Jativadia. Now in this parliament, if I am not able to raise my people's concerns in this parliament, when the relevant minister is here, and Honourable Minister Sabri, the Foreign Affairs Minister, as soon as I said about South Africa, this was his reaction. I can say that back to you, but you know the cameras are not on you, so people won't see it. This is what he said. As soon as I said South Africa, he said, if you think me raising my people's issues in this house is equivalent to me being a terrorist, I'll gladly be a kotia. Mama satuten kotiyek wenna nan sandosamaga or puliya irukkuren.
I want 1 minute. We don't call ourselves a champion. We are here for equality. We stood by that. I don't raise only Muslim issues in this parliament. I raise Sri Lankan issues. In 2010, which party you contested? After the war, you were in the Rajapaksa camp. You were lost. You were rejected. After that, you took communalism into your hand and now you are a communalist. I endorse that what you are saying. You are a communal politician. I am not. I am not a communal politician. You lost, man. You contested from the Rajapaksas and you lost. You were rejected. After that, you had took over this communal politics.
News first with the people.
අපේ රහට නියම කහට.
Welcome back to the news. Justice Minister Dr. Vijay Das Rajapaksa told Parliament that legal action will be filed in Singapore to secure compensation for the damages caused by the Express Pearl maritime disaster.
Has the government initiated a process to secure compensation? Has the Attorney General's Department produced the claim? What action does the government hope to file in Singapore? Was there any unwarranted intervention where the respondents will receive benefits instead of Sri Lanka? You have also mentioned an overseas bank account under a single name with $250 million.
බැංකු ගිණුමක ඩොලර් මිලියන 250ක් තැන්පත් කරයි කියන කාරණාව වන්දි හිමිකම් ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා වූ.
As a preliminary step in this matter, the Attorney General, on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka, will file action with the Singapore International Commercial Court, or the SICC. The shipping insurance company and the owners of the vessel have filed limitation proceedings in the UK to limit the compensation claim. We are obtaining legal advice on quashing that legal matter that aims to limit our compensation claim with the UK High Court. The damages caused to the Sri Lankan marine environment is estimated at $6.4 billion. The Attorney General's Department is also consulting with Spark Hillmore lawyers in Australia, who are experts in this field. Upon consulting them and engaging in independent fact-finding, Dentons Roddick and Davidson LLP will engage in the proceedings of filing action with the Singapore court. That case will be called up today. Today, I will reveal to the Parliament a piece of information and I will not claim responsibility for it. I am not sure if this is a piece of evidence or not. Sri Lanka police can investigate and determine if this is evidence or not. There is a name, Chamara Gunasekara, Nat West Road 500, account number 154793334, IB number GB53NWBK 500000015479234, BICN WNK GB2L, $250 million in this account. This is the information I was given, and the investigation is ongoing. The empty new diamond caught fire in the eastern coast some months ago, and 442 million rupees was paid as compensation. The incident took place in Sri Lankan waters. The entire vessel was not engulfed in flames at the time. The Attorney General advised that the vessel could not leave Sri Lankan waters. Days later, the vessel was released. That order was given by then Foreign Secretary Jayantha Kolomage. Then I spoke to the former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to determine the truth behind this. He said no order was issued to allow the vessel from leaving Sri Lankan waters. Lanka Godaheva had requested the former president to allow the vessel to leave Sri Lankan waters. The former president had said that the vessel could only leave Sri Lankan waters based on an order given by the Attorney General. The former president also made it clear that if the vessel was to leave Sri Lankan waters, the full compensation claim must be deposited to Sri Lanka. He confirmed it to me last night and this morning as well. It was Lanka Godaheva who made the request. He even spoke on TV to claim that turtle carcasses are washing up not because of the damages caused by the vessel, but due to the monsoon season. This must be investigated by a Parliament Select Committee.
A journalist spoke about turtle carcasses. I told him that as per a website, an environmentalist had noted that turtles died during the high tide season. I told him to pose those questions to the environmentalists. They only used that first portion of the statement and I was slandered for it. My personal view is that if there is a delay in filing action, the primary responsibility should be borne by the two justice ministers. I state this with responsibility. If you can produce a document to claim that I made a request regarding the new diamond vessel, I also oppose the decision allowing it to exit Sri Lankan waters. You spoke about an Australian law firm, Spark Helmo Lawyers. Are you aware that they have no expertise on maritime disasters? They are an environmental law firm with no experience in maritime disasters. What process was followed in selecting them? This is a serious issue.
මේ law firm එක කොහොමද තෝරගත්තේ? මොකක්ද ක්‍රමවේදය? මේක බරපතල ප්‍රශ්නයක් ගරු අමාත්‍යතුමනි.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that any attempt to disrupt the education system of the country, whether directly or indirectly, will not be permitted.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe attended the Matra Rahula College centenary celebration ceremony on Tuesday morning. A special commemorative stamp was also issued by the president to mark the occasion, and a portrait of the president painted by a student was also presented to President Wickremesinghe.
මම ජනාධිපති හැටියට පිළිගන්නේ අපි තරුණ පරපුරට දිය හැකි හොඳම ත්‍යාගය අධ්‍යාපනය.
As the president, I firmly believe that education is the greatest gift we can give to our youth. We have a new gift which education can suit the 21st century. The government is working towards 2048 and beyond. As part of our plan, we have committed to creating a good education system in the country by 2035. We believe it is crucial to create an education system that can face the future, as the youth of our country is our only national resource. I want to make it clear that no one will be allowed to disrupt or interfere with the education system of the country, and if necessary, we will bring laws to ensure no one interferes with the education system.
කාටවත් ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉඩ දෙන්න බෑ. වුවමනා නම් ඒකට නීතිත් අපි ගේන්න තිබෙනවා.
The Federation of University Teachers Association stated this evening that they are prepared to withdraw from the boycotting of the evaluation of GCE advanced level answer scripts if the president provides them with a meeting. They made these remarks following an executive council meeting of FUTA held at the University of Colombo.
The president has so far been delaying a discussion to resolve these issues. We need to hold a discussion with the president, and only after this discussion will we resume the evaluation of GCE advanced level answer scripts. Welcome back to the news. Sri Lanka has decided to continue with the increased weekly fuel quotas until further notice.
The fuel quota was increased for the New Year festive season with effect from the 5th of April 2023. The Ministry of Power and Energy in a statement said that there was no change in the monthly fuel purchase orders despite increasing the weekly fuel quota. It added that incidents of abusing the QR system considerably dropped after the fuel quota was increased.
4 people, including 2 women, were arrested for abducting and brutally assaulting a youth from Petta. Sri Lanka police said that the suspects were produced to the Mahara Magistrates Court and were remanded to the 28th of April.
A 21-year-old man from Hangulanketha, identified as Shanaka Indunil Peruma, was brutally assaulted by a group. It is reported that he has sent several WhatsApp messages to a 55-year-old woman living down Nyanamauli Mawatha in Makula. It is reported that the son-in-law of the woman in question had created a fake WhatsApp account using the image of another woman and had exchanged messages with the 21-year-old man and convinced him to reach Colombo. Sri Lanka police said the 21-year-old man had reached Fort Colombo on the 19th of April and he was abducted by a group including the 55-year-old woman, her daughter, son-in-law and another man and taken to Sapugaskanta by car. Thereafter they had teamed up with another 4 men and brutally assaulted the man and left him on the road leading to the Sapugaskanta cemetery. Sri Lanka police said the injured man was rushed to hospital after a call came through the police emergency hotline. The 21-year-old man was brutally injured in the attack and is currently receiving treatment in the intensive care unit of the National Hospital.
Two aircraft scheduled to land at the Bandaranayake Airport in Katunayake were diverted to the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport due to bad weather. This was confirmed to News First by Sri Lankan Airlines a short while ago. ISAC members from over 20 nations have arrived in Sri Lanka for the Asia-Pacific Summit 2023, which will be held from the 25th to the 29th of April. ISAC in Sri Lanka held a media briefing today to create awareness about ISAC and the summit.
The Asia-Pacific Summit 2023, organized by the Asia-Pacific region of ISAC, has begun. The summit is considered the largest conference of its kind and is graced by delegates from more than 20 countries, exceeding a delegation of 180. ISAC in Sri Lanka is a movement driven by the youth for the youth to promote value-driven leadership which has been creating an impact in Sri Lanka for over 25 years. The conference spans a total of 6 days held in Colombo and Chilao from the 25th to the 29th of April. This also includes a cultural night and a global village. The summit will feature several sessions such as educational sessions on leadership development, networking spaces, panel discussions, team activities, outbound training sessions, partner spaces, gala night and the national awarding ceremony of ISAC in the Asia-Pacific region. The opening ceremony was held today with delegates from 19 countries participating. The ceremony featured traditional dance performances to welcome the delegation. The objective of the overall conference is to provide leadership experiences while enabling cross-cultural understanding among the entities.
Through this summit, we hope to create a platform for learning, exchange and collaboration. We believe that by bringing together young leaders from across the region, we can create a shared vision for the future and work towards a more sustainable, inclusive and equitable world. Since 2019, ISAC in Sri Lanka has been having a dream of hosting an international conference.
This week, we are having 4 regional conferences happening in different parts of the world. The Americas one starting in Bolivia, Europe one is going in Romania, the Middle East and Africa conference starting in South Africa, and the Asia Pacific region we are starting in Sri Lanka today. This is an opportunity that you get to live diversity and you have different cultures. Take opportunity to talk to every single person in this one.
The Asia-Pacific Summit 2023 is a platform for young leaders from across the Asia-Pacific region to come together and exchange ideas, insights and experiences. The summit is poised to create a positive impact on the region's development and growth. News First and TV1 are the exclusive broadcasting media partners for the conference.
Now on to international news. The United Nations has said India will overtake China to become the most populous country in the world by the end of this week.
The new data shows India's population is expected to reach over 1.4 billion people by the end of April. A different UN body last week predicted that India would overtake China by the middle of this year. The Asian nations have accounted for more than a third of the global population for over 70 years. The UN's Department of Economic and Social Affairs said in a statement, quote, China will soon cede its long-held status as the world's most populous country, end quote. It added that, quote, due to the uncertainty associated with estimating and projecting populations, the specific date on which India is expected to surpass China in population size is approximate and subject to revision, end quote. The UN Population Fund said last week India would have 2.9 million more people than China by the middle of 2023.
US President Joe Biden has announced he will run for re-election in 2024, setting the stage for a potential rematch with Donald Trump.
The Democrat had been expected to seek a second 4-year term and launch his campaign in a video on Tuesday. He said it was a pivotal moment with freedoms and rights under threat. Vice President Kamala Harris of the United States will once again mate. Biden, at 80 years old, is already the oldest US president in history and is likely to face questions about his age throughout the campaign. He would be 86 after finishing a second full term in 2029. Biden faced off against Trump in 2020, defeating the Republicans after promising to, quote, restore the soul of the United States, unquote.
US media reported that famed singer, actor and civil rights activist Harry Belafonte, who stormed the pop charts and smashed racial barriers in the 1950s, has died at the age of 96.
Belafonte had died of heart failure in Manhattan, New York on Tuesday. His ascent to the top of the Billboard charts sparked a craze for Caribbean music with hits such as Deo, the Banana Boat song, Matilda and Jamaica Farewell. His album Calypso was the first by a single artist to sell over 1 million copies. He then went on to a short movie career before befriending Dr. Martin Luther King and becoming a civil rights activist in the US.
Now on to sports news. Ireland took full advantage of ideal batting conditions and a tired Sri Lankan bowling attack to pile up 492 all out before the hosts responded by reaching 81 for no loss at stumps on day 2 of the second test today.
Batting, indeed, very good. Getting up.
Ireland reached its highest test score by a distance, surpassing its previous best of 339 against Pakistan in 1998 in Dublin. The Sri Lankan bowling looked uninspired for the first part of the day and was sent on a leather hunt by Paul Stirling and Curtis Camphor, who scored their maiden centuries. Sri Lanka's Prabhat Jayasuriya is now just 2 weeks away to 50 test wickets. He is playing his 7th match and claimed 5 for 174 in a marathon 58.3 over spell. Seamers Vishwa and Asitha claimed 2 wickets apiece. For Sri Lanka, Nishan Madhushka was unbeaten on 41 in only his 3rd test match, and Sri Lankan skipper Dimut Karunaratne remained not out on 39 when play was suspended 30 minutes before the scheduled close due to bad light and rain.
On to square leg. A solid start seen off, and Madhushka's magnificent ground staff that is so renowned for.
We end tonight's bulletin with a statement from late Dr. Abdul Kalam, an Indian aerospace scientist and statesman who served as the 11th President of India. For the News First team, I'm Debbie Paldano. Take care.